Today we're working on the old blue Jeep, 2015 JKU, 135,000 miles. We got a check engine light that came on. Jeep was missing, so we're going to dig into it and see if we can't figure it out. All right, we're going to hook the code reader up, see what kind of codes we're getting. Make sure the key is in the run position. Do not start the engine. We've got a PO205 injector circuit open, cylinder 5. We've also got a P0305 cylinder 5 misfire detected. So we've got the injector circuit open, cylinder 5, and then cylinder 5 misfire detected. That's why she's running like crap. So we're not going to clear them right now. We're going to jump out and test the fuel injector. We're going to show you how to do that. Please disregard my messy garage. Hope y'all can't see too much of the mess. I need my old man step stool. Harbor Freight. I don't remember how much it was, but it was worth every penny of it. So here's our firing order, and suspected cylinder number 5 is on the passenger side in the very back. So that's gonna make it fun. All right, hopefully you can see this. Little red tab back there. You gotta pull that little red tab up to unplug it. Now I just gotta figure out how to get my fingers in there to it. That is gonna be fun to get to. Pull the tab up without breaking it. That'll be the trick. Different tool this time. Let's try it. Just fish it down in there. Come on. Oh, there she went. Now, if I can get it unplugged. There we go. Injector is unplugged. All right, there's one. Let's see if we can get this other one. Yep, I think I got it. So what we're going to do, we're going to switch our multimeter over to ohms. And a healthy injector will read between 12 and 12.6 ohms. Point four. 0.4. So it definitely tells me that it's a bad injector. Just to be certain, we're going to pull
test this other injector and show you that. There, pop it up. 'Unplugged. Got that injector unplugged. Test lead number 1. .8. .9. So we definitely know that number 5 is dead. I'd say number 1 is a little weak. I replaced number 3 a few years ago. So there we go, folks.
So we ordered a full set of 6 new fuel injectors. These are for the JL instead of the JK. The difference is the JLs have 8 atomizer holes in the bottom of the fuel injector versus the earlier models in the JK, they only had 4. So these are supposed to make the fuel atomization a little bit better. So we ordered these, got these in. Here is the part number, if you can see that. So we got 6 of these. And while we did that, we went ahead and ordered a new lower intake. The PUG lower intake is for the newer model Pentastar 3.6s. It's supposed to have a little better flow rate. And to be honest, our older lower intake was starting to strip out some of the bolt holes from bolting the upper to the lower. They were starting to strip last time I had it off, so I knew I was going to have to get a lower sooner before later, so I went ahead and opted to try this. I don't look for any type of big improvements, but it's a slight upgrade, so I had to have it, so it is what it is. And here's the part number on it. I don't know if you can see that. That's the part number. All right. Now I have already pre-tested all the new fuel injectors and they are all reading good. So we're going to go ahead and show you one. We're going to put our test lead on that one, hook that to the ground. Then we're going to turn our little cheap Harbor Freight multimeter over to ohms. Now remember, these should be reading between 12 and 12.6. .3, and all of them are in spec. So that's what we want. And when I pull these old ones out, we'll test all them too. Of course, we already tested 2 of them. We know the one is out of spec. And that's why we're doing this job, because she ain't firing. All right, before we start tearing this thing apart, we're going to take our air hose and we're going to try to blow any debris out that's around the intake or around the fuel rail. I know it ain't gonna get it all, but it's gonna get a lot of the small stuff. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get this air box out of here. Because not only are we doing fuel injectors and lower intake, we're going to do passenger side valve cover gasket because it's leaking a little bit too. I've already done driver's side because that's the easy one. Already done it. I really don't like these clamps on this air box from Rugged Ridge Snorkel. You'd think that they'd come up with something better than these goofy things. And the screw heads is made of a poor quality metal, and they tend to try to strip on you. These are to my front and rear differential. I've got them extended up here on top of the intake. Vent hoses. Bungee these up out of the way. So the easiest way to get those two bolts out, or two nuts off the studs for this bracket for the intake that I have found, there's two lower studs down here, and it's almost impossible to get to them from up here. The easiest way I found is to go through by the fender liner, by the front tire. Get you a long extension, a deep well, and a ratchet. And you ain't got to take them all the way off. You just got to loosen them up enough to slide that bracket out of the way. This flexible head ratchet makes it a lot easier too, because I can move it. That should be enough right there. Now, I got to get on the other one. That should be enough. Let's see if that is enough room. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's plenty loose enough. I think there's one more in the back. There we go. And the intake's off. Be careful, whatever you do, don't drop nothing down that lower intake. It'd be a bad day for you. Let's see if we can get this fuel rail hooked. Without tearing it up. Little plastic clip. Be very careful with that. It's coming. There we go. So you pull the blue tab out, or partially pull it out. Push in on the fuel hose. While you're doing that, push in on the white button here, and then pull out. It'll be kind of tough, but you can get it. You're going to dump a little bit of fuel, but it'll evaporate off. So now we got to unhook all the injectors. We use our handy dandy little hook pick. To get right up under that red tab and pull up. Got 3 of them. Reach in, pinch, pull up. This side is disconnected. And to get this further out of the way, we're going to go ahead and unhook them from the coil packs. Just to give us a little more room. Lay this over to the side. Get that completely out of our way. Since we're doing the valve cover anyways, I could go ahead and pull this crap out of the way. So we're going to lose some coolant when I take these coolant lines loose down here and get these coolant lines out of the way. And make sure to position you a catch can down below to catch a mess that you're about ready to make. You're not going to catch it all. Not too bad. All right, got this bracket loose. So in order to take the passenger side valve cover off, you got to remove the PCV valve, and it is located on the rear of the valve cover. The easiest way to get to it is this way. Remove your inner fender liner, and you can get to it up in there. And you can see where I've been leaking a little bit of oil with the valve cover gasket, so that's why we're doing this. Yeah, I just changed that PCV valve not long ago, and it ain't fun. You gotta have like raccoon hands to get back in there, and it is a fun job. Not looking forward to this. And I picked up this Icon little bit set with a small bit ratchet from Harbor Freight. just for this job because I struggled last time with what I had. It comes with the ratchet and large assortment of bits and then an extension. We ain't gonna need that extension. We're just gonna need this. There is no room back there. I can't begin to tell you how much room is back there because it's non-existent. Success. I got the first one. There it is. There we go. Got it broke loose. I should be able to take the bit out and just use the bit. Got it. Fun stuff. And that's what we was taking out. PCV valve. You go to replace one of these, make sure you get a Mopar. You see a lot of stories online, aftermarket ones are failing. So you gotta take the cam position sensor out. If you don't do that, you can't get the valve cover off. So the PCV valve and the cam position sensor both have to be removed from the valve cover on the passenger side. On the driver's side, all you've got is the cam sensor. You don't have a PCV valve over there. The screw's 40 miles long. Look at that. Pried it with my little screwdriver, popped it loose, and it don't come just straight out of there. You gotta find the sweet spot because it's got them little arms on it, so you got to find the sweet spot to pop it out of there. Okay, now we're going to take our coil packs out. Should be a 10 millimeter. And it looks like all the seals, there's seals around each one of these spark plug boots. All the seals are good, so there was no oil leaking, so those seals are good. I know on this side I had I think 2 of them was leaking, and the cam sensor seal is good. It wasn't leaking as well. Just the valve cover gasket's leaking in the back. It was dripping down on the exhaust. You could smell it. So now we just need to take the bolts out of the valve cover. Got it. Back left one was the hardest. And again, Icon bit driver for the win. It comes with this little 1/4 inch socket adapter. And I was able to use the 1/4 inch socket. Low profile. Don't forget, before you pull the valve cover, you've got to take these 2 sensors out up front. And the valve cover gasket kit comes with new sensor gaskets for both of these if you want to change them. Using a super thin flathead screwdriver just to gently pry up on this. Well, stupid dipstick's in the way. It's always something, ain't it? I wish I knew what that hose went to. I'd rip some out.
So the problem is the PCV valve has a tube that sticks out the back, and you've got to pick this up, push it back to clear that tube, and then you've got to come up. But you've also got the spark plug tubes. I should have took the battery box out. If I'd taken the battery box out, which probably would have been another 30 minutes longer to take all this out, I'd have had a lot more room to work. We're going to keep fighting with this and see if we can get it. Holy. That was easy. That was real easy.
So we've decided that our best course of action right now for putting the valve cover gasket on is to remove the battery box, the fuse box, get all this out of here. That way we don't have any trouble getting that valve cover back in there. When I put it back in, I don't want it to leak. And I had a hard time getting that out because it was just hanging up in the back. There was no room. I mean, I got it out, but it was a struggle. You've seen that. But we're going to move this battery box out of the way. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. And I've got a lot of aftermarket electronical components, so I've got extra circuit breakers here and everything, and winches and lights, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult. Not a fun project, but I feel it's the right thing to do. I definitely don't want to be replacing another valve cover gasket on this passenger side in the near future. I don't know if I mentioned or not, but we've got an event coming up in 1 week. So, good thing I got plenty of time to get this back together. There you go, battery box out. Not real easy, but not real hard either. That's what I should have done in the first place. So much more room. That's what I should have done when I was putting the snorkel in. I can see that right now. Okay, battery box is out. You can see I've got plenty of room. This is exactly what I would have saved myself a lot of time and a lot of headache. And if I ever have to get back in here again, this is coming out. We're going to jump over to the bench now, and we're going to work on this valve cover gasket. Okay, we've got our valve cover sitting here, and a very important note that I'm going to make on your valve cover, you're going to have 2 plastic dowels that protrude out of the valve cover, and if you break those, that's just going to make it harder to line back up. So get you a couple blocks of wood when you're going to be working on the bench with it, and line those up. That way it'll set flush and you ain't got to worry about breaking those dowel pins. So the first thing we're going to do is remove our cam sensor seal. So we're going to take a pry bar or a small screwdriver, and we're going to work around the edge, make sure it's loose, and then we're just going to gently pry up on it. And there she's out. And then we're going to take and clean that up a little bit. So what's important to note here on this seal, when you go to push it in, you can't push it in from the top. If you go to push it in from the top, you're just going to collapse it. See, that collapses. On the inside of the seal, there's a lip, and that's what we're going to be working with. So here is our new seal. And again, we don't want to push from the top because you'll collapse that. There is a lip on the inside. That's what we're going to be utilizing to seat this seal. So I'm using a 27mm socket. Use whatever you've got around your shop. But you want something that fits in there just perfect and catches that lip on the inside there without going all the way through. Because again, you're going to be using that lip to seat this seal down in the valve cover. That's the only thing you want to be pushing. If you don't, you'll end up with a leak. So we're going to sit this on here gently, and then we're going to kind of rock back and forth and just seat it down in there. And there it is. New seal is in. Easy as that. Now we're going to work on these spark plug seals. First thing you need to do is make note of the orientation. They are slightly angled, cupped on the inside of the valve cover. Let me grab a new one and show you. You'll see. We'll call this the flat side because it's pretty much flat. This is the tapered side. Tapered side is on the inside of the valve cover. Flat side is what you're looking at. Top side. And if you'll look, these don't come up all the way to the top of the valve cover. It looks like there's a gap, small gap underneath there. But that is fully seated. So we're going to go ahead and knock these out. And we're going to knock them out from the top side. Make sure your blocks of wood ain't messing up your dowel pins. And you're going to take a small mallet or rubber mallet, hammer, and a screwdriver. And you're going to work around the edges. And then you're going to knock these out. There. There's two out. And there's three out. Take a rag. Make sure there ain't no dirt or grime down in there. Okay, for the installation of these, I'm going to be using an 1 1/16" socket. Nope, I'm not, because it won't fit in there. Hey, horse. Let's find something else then. So for the installation of the spark plug seals, I'm going to be using a 1" socket. I'm going to be using the flat end here, not the open end, to push those down in there.
So for this, you're going to need that rubber mallet. You just can't hand press these in there. Kind of work your way around the edge. You'll feel it if it starts getting off kiltered on you. When the 2 is done, let's move to the last one. And that's it. All your seals are in now. The only other seals that you got to worry about on this will be, of course, your main valve cover gasket seal. That's the last thing you'll be putting in. And you have these sensor seals up front that pop out. And we're going to take a rag and we're going to clean that up before we install the new ones. Here's our new seals we're going to be putting in. And it's not a perfectly round shape. There's little barbs along the perimeter that catches it and holds it in there. You just kind of got to work that seal in there. And it won't fit all the way in there flush. There will be some sticking out. There's our new seals. Now we're ready to throw this on. So now we're going to come in here with some RTV, and there's a casting seam on the head, right towards the front of the head, right behind the chain, and you need to apply a little bit of RTV in those 2 spots only. And of course, my RTV. So we're going to apply just a little bit of RTV here on this seam. And again, down here on this seam. So now we're ready for our gasket. We're going to get our gasket set up here. Just make sure it's seated in that channel all the way around. There's a couple tabs. There's a tab here, tab here, tab here, and tab over here. Just make sure they're all lined up in the corresponding slots. Alright, so I'm going to take just a little bit of grease out of my grease gun. Not much, just a little bit. If I had like a little paintbrush, it'd be better. Just a little bit. And I'm going to put it right on those spark plug tube seals.
That'll help it slide on those tubes instead of getting hung up. Just a little bit of grease. And also don't forget about the PCV valve tube that comes in the back here. So that's what you got to focus on basically first. As you can see, I got a lot of bungee cords going on here trying to help me hold all this stuff back up out of the way. You got that one evap tube that just don't want to give us any room at all to work with. It's being hateful. That's what caused us so much grief earlier. And now I'm just feeling to make sure my gasket's not slid out of place because I had to force that back in there a little bit. Before I drop it down in its final spot. Just go ahead and hand start a couple of these. That way we know they're not cross-threaded. So to get the right torque on them small bolts, we're going to be using this Quinn device from Harbor Freight, since I don't have a small enough torque wrench. This, you can set it to whatever you need. And 106 inch-pounds or 8.8 foot-pounds. So I have this set at 8 foot-pounds. So like I said, we've got the torque set at 8 foot-pounds. Gives us just a little bit of leeway. We're going to start in the middle. And work our way out. So now's probably the best time to go ahead and reinstall our PCV valve. It goes in the back of the valve cover. And we've got a whole lot more room to work with now. Hopefully it won't be as hard. I wouldn't expect anything less though. It's still gonna be a booger. Okay, we got one screw pretty much started. Let's take our T25 Torx bit. And again, like I said earlier, don't use the aftermarket PCV valve. Get a Mopar. Got our bottom screw here. Let's see if we can't contort ourselves back in here to get it. I got it started. Try to run it up as far as I can. Use the bit. I'm sure there's a torque spec on those 2 screws. There is absolutely no way that you can get a torque on them, proper torque. So just do the best you can, snug it up good. That should be tight enough. Let's try to get in here. This top one's a whole lot easier than that bottom one. There we go. Good and snug. Let's see if we can get our hose back on it now. Okay, I got the hose on it. So now we're going to go ahead and put our sensors back in front of the valve cover. And these are T25 as well. Go ahead and get our second one in there. So now we're going to go ahead and put our cam position sensor back in. It goes in the back of the valve cover where the blue seal is. And it takes this long T30 bolt right here. And it does not go particularly straight in. You got to kind of finagle it around and get it in there. And the plug points towards the back, towards the firewall. Of course, you should remember that already. Hooking this ground wire back up over here. I took off earlier because it was in the way. Take this bungee strap off the dipstick. And get the dipstick bolted back up so we don't forget that. I think I can go ahead and put my coils back in, coil packs. Right now would also be a good time to change your spark plugs if you think you need to change your spark plugs. It's actually not been that long ago that I changed these spark plugs, so we're not going to fool with them. Okay, so we got most of the battery box in, minus the battery, most of the wiring hooked back up, minus some hoses. Now we're going to focus on the lower intake, getting the fuel injectors changed. So first we're going to take our T30 bit. Make sure you put something over your, plug your intake ports. That way you don't drop a bit or screw down in there. That'd be bad. So we're going to take our T30 bit and we're going to take out these screws from the fuel rail. Simply just pry the fuel rail off. The only thing holding it in is the injectors with the O-rings into the lower intake. So you can do it by hand or get you a handy dandy pry bar and just slowly start working them up. You are going to spill some fuel. There's going to be some fuel in the fuel rail. that's nothing to worry about. Some of your fuel injectors will remain stuck into the intake, or some of them may come out with the rail, which is no big deal. There we go. If you'll notice, this one's got a different color O-ring because this one went bad, and this is the newest one. I've only changed this one at that time. Notice the orientation. Plugs will be pointed out. That'll be for your reassembly. Make sure you got all the O-rings. There's one still stuck in there. Make sure you get all the O-rings out of the fuel rail. Yep, we're good. They are all out. All right, we're going to test our injectors now, the ones we just took out. Using my test leads, hooked up to my probes. See what we get here. 12.4, 12.5, 12.4. Good injector. $12, 12.1, 12.2. Good injector. This is the newest one I put in about a year ago. Probably more than a year ago. $12.2, 12.1. Good injector. .398, .395. That is a bad shorted injector. Cylinder 5. .43 and slowly dropping. So that's an intermittent. Probably wasn't bad enough to cause a check engine light. So we're going to call that one a bad injector as well. .5, 22.4. When I tested these a minute ago before putting it on camera, these last two injectors both started around 70 ohms and continually dropped for over 2 minutes. So they are both essentially bad, but they probably wasn't bad enough to give a check engine light. This was number 5, so it was definitely shorted. It was bad. So yeah, we had one definitely bad, 2 that was going bad and probably wasn't giving us a check engine light. Good thing I bought 6. We're gonna go ahead and change all 6. So let's get this cleaned up so we can get this installed. Now we're ready to remove the lower intake with 8mm. Right now is a prime opportunity time to change
your oil cooler, if your oil cooler is leaking, or if it's got a lot of miles on it and it ain't leaking. And ours is not leaking. So we are not going to touch it, because I know it had been prior changed to us just getting the Jeep several years ago. I'm just looking at the valves for carbon buildup. Yeah, everything looks good. Very little carbon. I'm happy with that. Now we need to come in here and clean up our heads, our mounting surfaces, and try not to get as much crap down in there. So we're going to get our new lower intake gaskets. And drop these in here one at a time. Alright, new gaskets are in. So we're going to go ahead and get our injectors put on our fuel rail, and then put our fuel rail on our lower intake. We've got a little cap with gas in it here. Just dip them down in there, get them O-rings wet. That's going to help it slide in there a little easier. Get them O-rings seated good. Don't pinch them. I've done that before. And just like that, all your injectors are seated into the rail. Then we'll take a rail, get it lined up, get all the injectors lined up. And gently seat them. I believe that's it. All your injectors look to be even height. Looks good to me. Send it. Okay, we've got our intake, our lower intake with our new injectors, new gaskets, all clean, ready to rock and roll. Let me gently set this thing down in here. I left the 4 bolts out of the fuel rail. That way I could squeeze it just a little bit and move it in order to get these washers. Push the washers all the way down next to the threads, and then you can get the bolt in right next to the fuel rail. Let's put these in. Get our fuel rail bolted down. Just snug. Just remember, you are tightening into plastic. So these intake bolts are supposed to be 200 inch-pounds. So I have set my torque at 14 pounds. 16 pounds is 200 inch-pounds. So I got mine set at 14. And I'm going to very carefully do this. Now we've got our new upper intake gaskets we want to start popping in. Okay, now we want to start moving our wiring harness back in place, getting our fuel rail hooked back up. There, push that in until it clicks. Put that back on. That just snaps in. It only goes one way. Now we're going to start working on getting our fuel injectors plugged back in. Don't forget to push down your red locking clips. There's one. There's 2, 3. Gonna plug our coil packs back up. Move to the other side and start doing the same thing again. Wiring harness situated. There's one. There's 2. 3. Start hooking our coil packs back up. 1, 2, 3. Get our alternator. Don't forget to tighten your alternator connection down. Slide your plastic cap up here, put it on. Plug in our sensors here. Go ahead and plug our cam position sensor in. Lock and tab. Now we're going to work on getting our upper intake on. I've already cleaned the upper intake mounting surface. Now we just got to drop this in here and try to get it lined up. Them screws like to drop back down in there. Torque should be 80 inch-pounds or 6.6 foot-pounds. Start from the inside and work your way out on tightening these. Kind of like a crisscross pattern. All right, so we've still got a few more connections to make to put this thing back together, but we're going to stop right here. We're not going to video any more of it. What we essentially just did was we upgraded our 2015 JKU to the newer JL fuel injectors and the JL intake manifold. The newer injectors provide a finer fuel spray for better combustion, and while the JL intake flows more air than the original JK design, the result is a smoother idle, improved throttle response, and hopefully better mid-range power and potentially a slight improvement in fuel economy. Probably negligible at best, but maybe just a little. Not real sure about that. It's not a huge horsepower gain, but it'll make the Jeep run smoother, feel more responsive, and it should improve long-term reliability. The JL injectors are plug and play, same as the JK injectors. They offer a 8-hole pattern versus a 4-hole pattern, so it should atomize the fuel a little bit better, let it burn a little bit better.
And I'm going to end this by saying, I'm not a mechanic, not a professional mechanic. I'm a home do-it-yourselfer. Use what you got available, do it at your own pace, and that's what I've been doing over the past couple of days. Been working on this, coming out a few hours a day, working on it, filming a video for you guys. Hopefully it'll help somebody. I may have done several things wrong, probably majorly different than what you would do them, but that's just the way I got it done, and it worked. You would have probably done some things different than I did, and that's okay. You're going to do it the way you want to do it. All these parts used on this repair was ordered from Mopar, not an aftermarket vendor. I actually ordered them from Mopar, so they costed right around the $400 range for the lower intake, all the seals, and new injectors. All right, that's going to do it for this video. My name's Will, KentuckyJeeper. My wife's name's Christy. You see her on some of our adventure videos. If you ain't already subscribed, please subscribe. We appreciate it. Please comment on the videos. If you don't like the way I've done something, let me know. If I've done something wrong, let me know. We're still a small channel. We're still trying to grow, so every subscriber helps. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. Throw a few videos on TikTok every now and then. All right, that's going to do it. Love you, mean it. What do you think? Pretty quiet. We'll see you.